Cancer spirit is surrounding you with a deep sense of release right now. The last 7 years have been both tender and heavy, like carrying tides that kept pulling you back into lessons you thought you had already outgrown. Spirit says this cycle was about emotional mastery, boundaries, and discovering your true strength beneath the softness of your heart. It's as though you've been walking through waves, sometimes steady, sometimes crashing. But every rise and fall shaped you into someone far more resilient than you realize. As this cycle closes, you are stepping into a phase where your emotional depth becomes your greatest gift rather than your heaviest burden. Before I begin, remember that if you feel drawn to go deeper, I offer personal readings starting at $9 and a monthly membership for $99 where we explore your soul's journey more closely with Spirit's guidance. The first card is the Chariot. Spirit says this card embodies your journey of learning to steer your own ship, no matter how strong the currents around you. Over the last 7 years, life has presented you with tests that asked you to stay focused on your direction, even when emotions threaten to pull you off course. This wasn't easy for you, Cancer, because you feel deeply, and sometimes you've wanted to retreat rather than push forward. But Spirit says every struggle was shaping your willpower and your ability to claim victory over your circumstances. On a practical level, the Chariot reflects situations where you had to take control, whether in career, family, or personal relationships. You've learned how to make decisions without waiting for everyone else's approval. Spirit says this was your training ground, teaching you that leadership of your life begins with clarity of direction. Emotionally, this card shows how you've grown in your ability to hold yourself steady even when triggered. In the past, you may have let your feelings run the show, but this cycle has taught you how to ride them without losing control. Spirit says you are no longer at the mercy of your emotions. You are learning to guide them. Energetically, the Chariot represents alignment. Spirit says your next cycle will feel smoother because you've already done the hard work of building inner discipline. You're stepping into a phase where you move with focus, determination, and emotional wisdom. The second card is the Four of Cups. Spirit says this card represents the emotional apathy, disappointment, and dissatisfaction that have shadowed your last 7 years. There were times when blessings were right in front of you, but you couldn't see them clearly because your heart was still focused on what you had lost. Spirit says this cycle was about breaking the pattern of dwelling on what isn't working and learning to recognize what is. On a practical level, the Four of Cups reflects opportunities missed or delayed, often because you were in a state of emotional fatigue. Spirit says you were not being punished. It was part of your soul's growth to learn discernment, to pause, and to realize that not every cup offered was truly aligned with you. Emotionally, this card reveals the sadness or disconnection you felt at times. Spirit says some of this came from expecting life to look a certain way and struggling to accept when it didn't. You've had to learn how to open your heart to new experiences, rather than staying stuck in longing for what could have been. Energetically, the Four of Cups shows Spirit breaking this pattern for you. The next cycle brings emotional renewal, where you'll feel more awake to opportunities and able to embrace what life is offering without hesitation. The third card is the Queen of Cups. Spirit says this card is a reflection of your true essence, intuitive, compassionate, and deeply connected to your emotional world. Over the last 7 years, you've been slowly growing into this energy, even through heartbreak and loss. Spirit says this cycle has taught you that your sensitivity is not weakness, but power. On a practical level, the Queen of Cups points to situations where you have been the emotional anchor for others. Spirit says you've carried loved ones through storms, often putting their needs ahead of your own. This cycle has taught you the balance between nurturing others and honoring your own well-being. Emotionally, this card reflects your healing journey. Spirit shows me that you've learned to forgive, to process, and to trust your intuition more deeply than ever. You've also learned that you cannot save everyone. You can only love them while allowing them to walk their own path. Energetically, the Queen of Cups says you are stepping into a cycle where your intuition becomes one of your greatest guides. Spirit says you will no longer ignore your inner voice because you've learned through experience that it is always right. The fourth card is the Tower. Spirit says this card represents the sudden upheavals and unexpected endings that shook your foundation over these past 7 years. These were moments where life forced you to let go of what wasn't built on truth. At the time, it may have felt unfair or even cruel, but Spirit says these breakdowns were always clearing the way for breakthroughs. On a practical level, the Tower reflects events like job changes, relationship endings, or shifts in your living situation. These experiences pushed you out of your comfort zone and forced you to rebuild stronger than before. Emotionally, this card mirrors the shock, grief, and instability you've sometimes felt. Spirit says you've carried the weight of sudden change, and yet each time you rose again. These moments tested your resilience, but also revealed it. Energetically, the Tower shows a karmic pattern that is breaking now. Spirit says the next cycle will not carry the same level of destruction because you've already learned how to release what's false before it collapses. You are moving into a phase where you actively choose transformation rather than having it forced upon you. The fifth card is the Ten of Pentacles. Spirit says this is the energy you are stepping into as this 7-year cycle closes, a season of stability, legacy, and fulfillment. After years of emotional lessons, upheavals, and learning to steer your own path, you are entering a cycle where home, family, and long-term abundance become central themes. On a practical level, the Ten of Pentacles points to financial stability, career growth, or building a home life that feels safe and rooted. Spirit says this next chapter is about reaping the rewards of your hard work and creating something lasting. Emotionally, this card reflects a sense of belonging. Spirit says the loneliness or instability of the past cycle is being replaced with a stronger support system, whether through family, community, or soul connections that feel like home. Energetically, the Ten of Pentacles says you are stepping into alignment with your soul's desire for security and lasting fulfillment. Spirit says you are moving into a cycle where you not only receive abundance, but also pass it forward, creating blessings for others. Affirmation: I release the disappointments, upheavals, and emotional heaviness of the past 7 years. I honor my sensitivity as strength and embrace the stability, love, and abundance flowing into my next chapter. Spirit is guiding me toward a life built on truth, balance, and lasting fulfillment.